audio-only version on our Telegram channel. I woke up from a coma and found out my best friend knocked up my wife. Warning, this is gonna be a long story, probably one of the longest you'll read today, so strap in. I've split it into parts for your sanity, with timestamps for easy navigation. You don't have to read it all in one go, but I promise it's a wild ride. I don't care if you believe me or not, this whole thing feels like a fever dream to me too. If my family or anyone involved sees this, I'm not holding back, but I'm also not dropping names or specifics to keep things anonymous. Let's dive in. I'm a 34-year-old guy living in a mid-sized town in the Midwest, USA. Before everything went to hell, I had a decent life. Not perfect, but solid. I co-founded a small logistics company with my younger brother, Matt, 31, about 5 years ago. It was a scrappy operation, hauling freight for local businesses. Nothing glamorous like Silicon Valley startups, but we were proud of it. I owned 60% of the shares. Matt had 40%, and we were just starting to get traction. Long hours, late nights, and constant hustling to get investors on board. I was the face of the company, the one shaking hands and closing deals, while Matt handled operations. He's a good guy, smart, reliable, the kind of brother you'd want in your corner. Growing up, we were tight, even though I was always the responsible one, bailing him out of dumb teenage stunts. Our parents, mom 58 and dad 60, were blue-collar folks who raised us to work hard. They're not perfect, mom's got a temper, dad's quiet but stubborn, but they were always there for us. Then there's my wife, Sarah, 33. We met in college, got married 7 years ago. No kids, which was a mutual choice, at least I thought so. Sarah's beautiful, sharp, and charming when she wants to be, but she's always had this restless energy, like she was waiting for something bigger, something more exciting than our life. I loved her and I thought we were solid. She'd get moody sometimes, especially when I was swamped with work, but I figured it was just her needing space. I never suspected anything deeper. Looking back, I was blind, but at the time I thought we were happy. My best friend Jake, 34, was the last piece of the puzzle. We've known each other since high school, the kind of friend who'd help you move a couch at 2 a.m. no questions asked. He's a mechanic, owns a small auto shop in town. Jake's a charmer, tall, easygoing, always got a story to tell. He and Sarah were friendly, but I never thought twice about it. They'd chat at barbecues or when Jake came over to watch a game, but it was normal, or so I thought. I trusted them both completely. Why wouldn't I? They were the two people I was closest to, besides Matt. Life was busy but good. The company was finally getting some big contracts, and I was driving home from a meeting with potential investors on a rainy October night in 2023. It was late, maybe 10 p.m., and I was exhausted but pumped. The investors were interested, and if we played our cards right, the company could double in size. I was on a two-lane road, music playing low, thinking about how I'd tell Sarah the good news. Then, out of nowhere, a truck swerved into my lane. I don't remember much, just headlights, the screech of tires, and then nothing. I woke up in a hospital bed, disoriented with tubes everywhere and a headache that felt like someone was drilling into my skull. The lights were too bright, the beeping machines too loud. A nurse was checking something on a monitor, and when she saw my eyes open, she gasped and called for a doctor. I tried to talk, but my throat was dry and my body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. The doctor came in, a kind older guy, and explained what happened. I'd been in a head-on collision. Broken ribs, a fractured leg, and a traumatic brain injury that put me in a coma. For 2 years. It was now November 2025. 2 years gone, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was 32 when I crashed, and now I was 34. The world had moved on without me. I asked about Sarah, Matt, my parents. The doctor said they'd been notified I was awake and were on their way. I lay there, trying to process it, feeling like I'd been dropped into someone else's life. My muscles were weak, my voice raspy. They told me I'd need physical therapy to walk properly again, but my brain seemed okay, aside from some gaps in memory around the crash. When my parents arrived, they looked older, worn out. Mom was crying, hugging me so tight it hurt my ribs. Dad just stood there, gripping my hand, not saying much. Matt came in next, looking like he'd aged a decade. He hugged me too, said he'd missed me, that he'd been running the company while I was out. I asked about Sarah. They all got quiet, exchanging looks. Finally, Mom said, "She's not here right now, honey. We'll talk about it later." That's when I knew something was wrong. I pressed, but they dodged, saying I needed to rest. I was too weak to argue, but my gut told me something was off. It took a few days for me to get the full story. I was still in the hospital, hooked up to IVs, trying to piece together what happened while I was asleep. Matt was the one who finally told me after I kept pushing. Sarah had moved on, with Jake, my best friend. They'd been together for over a year, living in our house, the one I'd bought with my savings, the one we'd planned our future in. They had a kid now, a 1-year-old girl named Lily. It was like the world stopped. My wife and my best friend, together. I felt like I'd been stabbed in the back, then run over for good measure. I didn't know whether to cry or scream. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling while Matt tried to explain. Apparently, Sarah had been a wreck after the accident, visiting me every day for the first few months. But as time dragged on and the doctors weren't sure I'd ever wake up, she started pulling away. Jake was there for her, at first as a friend, then as something more. By the time I'd been in the coma for a year, they were openly together. Sarah told everyone she couldn't keep living in limbo, that she had to move forward. Jake moved into our house, and when Lily was born, they acted like a happy little family. I was blindsided. I'd never suspected a thing. All those times Jake and Sarah laughed together, the barbecues, the game nights, I thought it was just them being friendly. I trusted them. How could I have been so stupid? I wanted to confront them, demand answers, maybe even hurt them. But I was stuck in a hospital bed, barely able to sit up without help. For a week, I stewed in rage and heartbreak. I kept replaying every memory, searching for clues I'd missed, but there was nothing. They'd played me for a fool. Sarah didn't visit. Neither did Jake. A month later, I was discharged. I'd made progress in physical therapy, enough to walk with a cane, though I tired easily. Matt drove me to our parents' house, where I'd be staying until I figured things out. Our house was occupied by Sarah, Jake, and their kid. I had nothing. No home, no wife, no best friend. Just a hospital bill the size of a small country and a company I hadn't been part of for 2 years. When I got to my parents' place, it felt like stepping into a museum of my old life. My childhood bedroom was the same, down to the faded posters on the walls. Mom fussed over me, cooking my favorite meals, but I could tell she was walking on eggshells, afraid to bring up Sarah. Dad was quieter than usual, just watching me like he expected me to break. Matt was the only one who seemed normal, filling me in on the company. Apparently, it had taken off under his leadership. Those investors I'd met with before the crash, they came through, and the business was now worth millions. My shares were still mine, which meant I was technically rich, but it didn't feel real. Not when I was sleeping in my old twin bed, feeling like a ghost. A week later, I couldn't avoid it anymore. I needed to see Sarah to understand why. Matt drove me to the house, my house. It looked different, new curtains, a tricycle in the driveway. I knocked, my heart pounding. Sarah answered, and for a second we just stared at each other. She looked tired, older, but still beautiful. Jake was behind her, holding a toddler with big brown eyes. Lily, my stomach churned. Sarah invited me in, her voice shaky. Jake wouldn't meet my eyes. We sat in the living room, my living room, and I asked her point blank how she could do this. She started crying, saying she thought I was gone, that the doctors gave her no hope. She said she was lonely, scared, and Jake was there when I couldn't be. Jake finally spoke, mumbling about how he never meant to hurt me, how things just happened. I was too shocked to yell. I just felt numb. I asked about the house. Sarah said they'd been paying the mortgage, acting like it was theirs now. I told them I wanted it back. It was mine, bought with my money in my name. They got quiet, then Sarah said they'd need time to figure things out. I left feeling like I'd lost something I couldn't name. That night I lay awake, replaying the conversation, hating them both. But a small part of me wondered if I was being unfair. Sarah thought I'd never wake up. Could I blame her for moving on? And Jake, he was my friend, but maybe he really was just trying to help her. I didn't know what to believe. The next day I went to a coffee shop to clear my head. That's where I met Emily, 33, an old high school classmate I hadn't seen in years. She was sitting alone, looking as lost as I felt. We got talking, and it turned out her life had imploded too. Her mom had passed away from cancer a few months ago, and she was struggling to keep it together. I don't know why, but I spilled everything: my coma, Sarah, Jake, the house. Emily listened, really listened, and when I was done, she told me her mom's death had left her fighting her own family over inheritance. She was a lawyer now, specializing in family law, and offered to help me get my house back. I don't know if it was her kind eyes or the fact that I was desperate, but I said yes. Emily was a godsend. She dug into the legal mess. Sarah and Jake had no claim to the house, but they'd been living there rent-free, using my money to cover the mortgage while I was in the coma. Emily filed paperwork to start eviction proceedings and a lawsuit to recover the money Sarah had spent from our joint accounts. Apparently, she drained them, claiming she needed it to survive while I was out. Emily was fierce, working late nights with me, going over documents, strategizing. We started spending more time together, grabbing coffee or dinner after meetings. She got me, my anger, my hurt, the way I felt like my life had been stolen. I started to feel something for her, but I pushed it down. I wasn't ready for that, not yet. Meanwhile, Matt was thrilled I was back. He'd done an incredible job with the company, turning it into a regional powerhouse. He insisted I jump back in, even if just part-time while I recovered. It felt good to have something to focus on besides my messed-up personal life. Matt and I worked well together, like old times, but I could tell he felt guilty about how well the company had done without me. I told him not to worry, I was proud of him. He'd stepped up when I couldn't. The lawsuit against Sarah was brutal. She fought dirty, claiming I'd abandoned her, that she deserved the house for all she'd been through. Jake backed her up, saying they'd built a life there. Emily tore their arguments apart in court, proving the house was mine and that Sarah had no legal right to it. The judge gave them 60 days to move out. Sarah called me, screaming, saying I was ruining her life, that Lily needed a home. I told her she should have thought of that before moving my best friend into our bed. It felt good to say it, but it didn't erase the pain. A few weeks after the court ruling, I was at a bar trying to unwind. That's when Jake walked in. He looked rough, bags under his eyes, clothes rumpled. He saw me and hesitated, then came over. I braced myself for a fight, but he just sat down and ordered a beer. We didn't talk for a while, just sat there in this awkward silence. Then he said something that floored me. I always wanted kids, man, but I don't think Lily's mine. I froze. He kept talking, saying he'd started noticing things. Lily's eyes were too much like mine, her smile too familiar. He'd done the math, and the timeline of Sarah's pregnancy didn't add up. He thought she'd been pregnant before they got together, maybe even before my accident. He hadn't confronted her yet, but he was planning to get a DNA test. My head was spinning. Could Lily be mine? I hadn't even considered it. Sarah and Jake's betrayal had been such a shock, I assumed Lily was theirs. The idea that she could be my daughter hit me like a freight train. I didn't say much, just nodded and left. The next day, I called Emily. She was skeptical, but said we could get a court-ordered DNA test if I wanted to pursue it. I wasn't sure what I wanted. Part of me hoped it was true. I'd lost everything else, and the idea of having a daughter, a piece of my old life, felt like a lifeline. But it also terrified me. What if she was mine and Sarah had kept it from me? Emily helped me get access to Lily's medical records through the court, citing my suspicion as grounds for a paternity test. It was a long shot, but the judge approved it. Sarah fought it, saying I was delusional, that I was trying to destroy her family. But Emily was relentless. We got a sample from Lily, hair from her brush, collected by a neutral third party, and sent it for testing. While we waited for the results, Emily and I grew closer. We weren't dating, not exactly, but there was something there. Late nights working on the case turned into long conversations about life, loss, and starting over. She told me about her mom, how losing her had shattered her sense of home. I told her about the coma, how it felt like waking up in a world that didn't want me anymore. We were both broken, but together we felt a little less alone. The DNA test results came back 3 weeks later. I was at Emily's office when she opened the envelope. She looked at me, her eyes wide, and handed me the paper. Positive. Lily was mine. I don't know how to describe what I felt. Joy, anger, relief, fear, all at once. Lily was my daughter, conceived before the accident, before Sarah and Jake betrayed me. Sarah had known, or at least suspected, and never told me. She let Jake believe Lily was his, let him raise her in my house while I was lying in a coma. The betrayal cut even deeper now. She hadn't just moved on, she'd hidden my child from me. I confronted Sarah at a neutral location, a diner, with Emily there as my lawyer. Sarah broke down, admitting she'd found out she was pregnant a week before my accident. She was scared, didn't know if she wanted a kid, and then the crash happened. She said she couldn't handle raising a baby alone, so when Jake stepped in, she let him believe Lily was his. She swore she didn't know for sure until the test, but I didn't believe her. She lied to everyone, including herself. I was done with her. I told her I was filing for custody of Lily. Emily backed me up, saying we had a strong case given Sarah's deception and unstable living situation. She and Jake were now renting a tiny apartment, barely making ends meet. The custody battle was ugly. Sarah painted me as an absentee father, saying I'd been gone for 2 years. Emily countered with medical records proving I'd been in a coma, not choosing to abandon my daughter. The judge was sympathetic, especially after seeing the DNA results and Sarah's lies. I got primary custody, with Sarah getting supervised visitation. It's been 6 months since I got custody of Lily. She's 2 now, a bright, curious kid with my eyes and Sarah's smile. Taking care of her is hard. I'm still relearning how to walk without a limp, and single parenting is no joke, but she's my world. Every time she laughs or grabs my hand, I feel like I've been given a second chance. The house is mine again. Sarah and Jake moved out, and I've been fixing it up, making it a home for Lily. Emily's been a huge part of that. We're dating now, taking it slow, but it feels right. She's great with Lily, and for the first time in years, I feel like I'm building something new. The company's doing better than ever. Matt and I are equal partners now. I gave him half my shares as a thank you for keeping it alive while I was out. He's dating someone new, a teacher named Claire, and they're good together. My parents are trying to make amends, visiting often to see Lily, but it's complicated. I'm still angry about how they handled things while I was in the coma, how they didn't push Sarah to be there when I woke up. We're working on it, but it'll take time. As for Jake, he apologized, but I told him we're done. He's out of my life, and I don't care if he's sorry. Sarah's a different story. I have to deal with her because of Lily, but I keep it civil and distant. She's struggling, working odd jobs, living with her mom now. I don't wish her ill, but I don't feel sorry for her either. Update 1, 3 months later. Lily's settling in, but it's not all sunshine. She asks about Sarah sometimes, and it breaks my heart to explain why Mommy doesn't live with us. I'm honest without being cruel. She's too young to understand the whole mess. Emily's been a rock, helping me navigate the toddler tantrums and late-night worries. We're talking about moving in together, but I'm hesitant. Not because I don't love her, I do, but because I want to make sure Lily's stable first. The company hit a rough patch last month. A major client pulled out, and Matt and I had to scramble to cover the loss. It reminded me how fragile things are, even when they seem solid. We're pulling through, but it's a wake-up call. I ran into Jake at the grocery store last week. He looked like hell, unshaven, eyes bloodshot. He tried to talk, said he's been struggling since the breakup with Sarah. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded and walked away. Part of me feels bad for him, but then I remember Lily, and any sympathy dries up. Update 2, 6 months later. Big news, Emily moved in. It's been a game changer. She's taken on so much with Lily, and they're inseparable. I proposed last month, nothing fancy, just us on the couch after Lily went to bed. She said yes, and we're planning a small wedding next year. Matt's gonna be my best man, which feels right. The custody situation with Sarah's gotten messy again. She's been missing visitation, claiming she's too busy with work. I think she's spiraling. Matt heard from a mutual friend she's been partying a lot, maybe drinking too much. I worry about what it means for Lily, but Emily says we'll handle it, and I trust her. The company's back on track, and we landed a new contract that could take us national. Matt's pushing for it, but I'm cautious, don't want to overextend ourselves. Mom and Dad are coming around more, trying to be grandparents to Lily. It's awkward, but I'm letting them in, little by little. Update 3, 1 year later. I'm writing this from the park, watching Lily play on the swings. She's 3 now, full of energy, and calls Emily Mama M. It makes my heart ache in a good way. The wedding's in 3 months, and Matt's planning a ridiculous bachelor party I'm pretending to hate. Sarah's out of the picture mostly. She moved to another state, said she needed a fresh start. She hasn't seen Lily in 6 months, and I'm not sure she ever will again. I'm okay with that. Lily's got a family with me, Emily, Matt, and my parents. The company's thriving, and we're hiring new staff, which feels surreal after everything. One last thing, I found an old photo of me, Sarah, and Jake from before the accident, tucked in a drawer. I looked at it for a long time, then threw it out. That life's gone, and I'm not looking back. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new stories.